So today on the show we have Rachel Robinson, the voice of
Hel-
Oerba Fang.
Hello, or hello.
So how did you get into acting?
How did I get into acting, or how did I get into voice acting?
Both.
Well, I don't have a lot of formal theater training. I mean, I definitely did a little bit, and I've taken some acting classes, but I've always been more interested in voiceover, just because, in my mind, there was a lot more versatility. And I thought there would be a lot more, just for me personally, more creativity and more range. I've always been a mimic without really even meaning to be. Even when I told stories as a younger person, I was using somebody else's, and I was telling that person's part of the story, I would just use their voice. And so it was always something I was interested in. I didn't start to really take it seriously until about 15 years ago when I came home first. I was living in Colorado for a while, and I came home for a summer, and I had heard about a class with a woman named Dolores Steele, who's been around forever, and she's incredible. And she did a sort of all-purpose VO course, animation, narration, commercials, what have you. And I thought, God, this is so much fun, and I would love to do this for a living. So when I moved home 11 years ago, I just started doing some research and asking questions and finding out what classes were around. And a friend of mine told me that one of her oldest friends ran a studio, taught a commercial class, and I started with him, and it just kind of snowballed from there. He introduced me to other people whose classes I took, and you just start meeting more people, and there's definitely a lot of networking involved. But for me, and I would say for almost anybody, classes is really the place to start. And certainly acting classes too, because voice acting is definitely acting. And just because people can't see you doesn't mean you don't have to work. Sometimes you have to work even harder.
So how long have you been in voiceover?
Professionally, 11 years.
What type of projects have you been in? Games, animation?
I started mostly with commercials. I still do. I still read for a lot of commercial announcer stuff. Excuse me. Or I read for a lot of mom roles, sometimes some villain roles. Commercials, animation, narration, and video games definitely in the last few years, which I think I have to say is probably my favorite part.
So probably what's been your favorite role in voiceover?
I get asked that a lot, and it's almost always the same answer. I'm gonna have to say Fang. She really was sort of a turning point for me, just because I hadn't really, I'd read for a lot of video games, but this was, when I heard I booked it, I thought, oh my God, this is part of the Final Fantasy franchise, which is huge and long running and beloved. And to be one of the six main playable characters is major. But I also liked her because she was so unique and so different than anything I'd seen. And even the developers were saying we've never had a character like this. So, and especially you get to work with these guys really closely. You get to know your director, the producer, all the people in the room, and these are, as you know, really long, complex, layered stories with tons and tons of cutscenes. As much if not more than the battle sequences. So you really get to know these characters and get kind of bonded to them. So I have to say she's far and away my favorite.
So what did you like about Fang?
What did I like about her? Well, where do I start? She doesn't fit into any traditional categories. I guess she doesn't fit in the damsel in distress category. She's not a traditional. She's not a villain. She's not one dimensional. I like that her dress is different. Her style is different. She's beautiful, but she's not common looking. She has a devil may care attitude, but she's got a lot of heart. And, like anybody, they make these characters very human. These people have a lot going on the surface and under the surface, and they've got backstories. And I just liked that she, no matter what she did, she was going to put her all into it. And, uh, and that she had a lot of integrity and occasionally a sense of humor, which is always helpful.
They're coming out with a Final Fantasy 13 2. Do you think your
Uh-huh.
character will be in any part of that?
I sure hope so. I got a lot of support from fans of Fang and fans of the game, And a lot of people have asked me that same question. I had heard rumors about the game coming out. I've seen the trailer. They were doing demos of the game at Comic-Con, so I know it's it's definitely in process. I don't know. I sure hope they do. I had heard rumors swirling around that maybe, but nobody has said anything to me for sure. And unfortunately, even if I knew for sure, I probably wouldn't be able to say either. But I really have all my fingers crossed because it'd be fun to say the least, and also just to be able to get to reprise a role, and also maybe to take her further. A lot of people said Fang should have her own game, and hey, I would be all for that. But unfortunately, I can't be the one to ask them.
So, speaking of which, how was Comic-Con?
Comic-Con was a Sirocco tornado whirlwind of craziness and fun and hilarity, and I think it gets bigger every year. As far as I've been going about 6, 7 years now, and every time I go, they always seem to have more. It was great. I was only there for about 48 hours, and I managed to pack a lot in. It's a zoo, but it's the greatest zoo.
So, what'd you end up doing more of? FAQs, signings?
Well, there was no specific. There were no specific panels that I was on. I actually, excuse me, I did a piece with DeviantArt. I know some people over at DeviantArt. Mostly for me, it was about connecting with people this time. There was nothing that I was a part of that was specifically being showcased there. But I had a lot of autonomy and freedom to just, kind of connect with people that I don't get to see in the gaming, in the animation world, and get to take in a whole lot more. I'm hoping that next year I'll be part of a few things that'll be showcased.
Do you think you'll be going into any other conventions?
Well, for the last 2 years, I've been a guest at Kineticon in Hartford. Excuse me. Last year was my first year, and I went back this year. And I'll keep going back as long as they'll keep inviting me. It's a great little convention, and just a fraction of the size of Comic-Con, like most of the other conventions, I would imagine. And I'm definitely looking into some other ones. I have a lot of friends in voiceover, obviously, and a lot of them do go to these conventions. So I'm trying to get the lay of the land. At this time, I'm not scheduled to go to or appear anyway, but that doesn't mean that I won't soon.
So, what's your opinion on the cosplay?
What do you mean?
Like people.
Do I like it or do I?
Either one.
I think it's an incredible. It's not even really a subculture anymore. It used to be this sort of fascinating thing that you didn't see, but now it becomes so widespread, and it's become an entity unto itself. And I think it's incredible. I think some of these costumes are, they're as good as any props or costumes that I would see on a set. People, they obviously work very hard them all year. I love the group costumes because the full effect is pretty amazing. I'll admit that a lot of these costumes I don't recognize just because, the multitude of video games and shows that are out there, and some of them I think are very specific. But I have to say, I could just sit and watch cosplay all day. I could watch people walk around in their costumes and just do that. No, I think it's great. A lot of people ask me if I dress, and I said, no, that's for the experts. I want to view and admire.
Have you actually had any experience with the game itself, Final Fantasy XIII?
I have played it. I have not finished it. It's a 6-disc game, I think, maybe more. And I'm told that even the best players took about 50 to 60 hours to finish it. I hate to say I've not even met my character yet in the game. It's because she doesn't show up till a little bit later. I mean, it's it's intense, and it's rich, and it's layered, and sometimes you think you're going along great. I'm like, God, I'm kicking ass, I'm doing so well, and then all of a sudden there's a boss that comes along, and you cannot beat this boss. So I've made it quite a ways in, but I still haven't met me yet, so to speak. That's the ultimate moment I'm hoping for, and I'd love to see it through. I mean, getting to be a part of it during recording and seeing all the cutscenes in Japanese beforehand for tone, I could see how beautiful it was, and it was like being part of a movie. So yeah, I definitely hope to get back and finish it at some point. It could take me till next year, but I'll definitely get there.
Any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
There's a few things that are in the works, but unfortunately, I'm never allowed to say anything because they make you sign an NDA even before they book you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's unfortunately, I'd love to, but unfortunately, I'm not at liberty.
It's a teaser without a teaser.
I know, and I don't want to be that girl because, look, I'm as proud as anybody to say when there's, I mean, I'm always like, I want to just tell the whole world when it happens, especially when people ask me, but it's one of those things because, look, I'm not gifted with patience either. It's something that I've had to learn over time. So I am hoping to be able to make a positive announcement in that direction soon. But at present time, no, sadly.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okie doke.